For this assignment, I will be reviewing a journal article entitled Fear in Virtual Reality: Fear Elements, Coping Reactions, Immediate and Next Day Fright Responses Towards a Survival Horror Virtual Reality Game by G. Swan, Tammy Lin. The purpose of the study was to answer several key questions, such as what causes fright in VR survival horror games, how do players cope with their fear, and are there lingering effects as a result. In movies and non-VR games, depicted brutality and surprise caused the most fright in viewers. However, for VR games, interactivity was additionally a huge factor. The effects of audio, music, darkness, human disfigurement, depicted brutality, and surprise were elevated as a result. Lin categorizes these elements as PI and PSI, essentially referring to the illusion of the VR space versus the illusion of events occurring within that space. So why study fear in VR? It has potential for therapy to help treat patients with serious phobias. As well, movie and game designers as well as marketers can also better provide experiences to audiences if they can understand the ways in which technologies can elicit emotion, or in this case, fear. This study tested 145 university students, having them play a game called the Brookhaven Experiment on the HTC Vive. The game environment is extremely dark, and players have one gun with limited bullets and a flashlight with a limited battery. When the game begins, players can hear footsteps approaching, but it is difficult to kill zombies when they are distant. The easiest way to kill zombies is to fire at their heads close up. This design also ensures that players experience both PI and PSI elements, and it engages the core elements of the horror survival game genre. The study's findings were that the plausibility illusion-related elements, or simulated events, were what induced the most fear. Coping strategies observed included talking as a means of distraction, swearing, shouting, screaming, behavioral disengagement, where players would quit the game or remove their headsets, as well as denial of the events being real. Only a few students experienced next-day fright. It was concluded from the study that VR is an excellent tool that can be used for inducing fear, allowing players to experience seemingly realistic experiences in a safe and controlled environment. Had there been notable lingering effects on players psychologically, this would not have been the case. This was only an exploratory study, so factors were not manipulated, but it provided a theoretical framework for fear elements and coping strategies for future research. This study is relevant to digital and analog games as it reinforces the fact that interactivity is key to player engagement and experience. In video games, there is some distance between the player and their avatar, but in VR, the player is the protagonist in the game. Players are fully immersed with visual, audio, and haptic displays with tracking systems, and they interact with and do things as they would in the real world. VR exemplifies inactive learning from Bandura's social learning theory, which, as Lin says, results in greater effects emotionally, cognitively, and physiologically compared to observational experiences.